Excited about this subject today, what we should know about home valuations, because sometimes we can get it so wrong. The difference between price, cost, value, all of those things. So where do we start in this?
All right. Well, let's start by saying that a valuation is an unbiased view of what a property costs. And especially when it comes to sale transactions, this is the defining tool that can make or break a sale. So let's say, Pearson, you decide to buy my property for $2,000. You need to know, and you're getting financing, you need to have a valuer come out and inspect that property on behalf of the bank, because the bank wants to make sure they don't lend you any more than the value of that property. They need to know that if you miss your payments, they can scoop that property up and sell it and get back what they lend. So the valuation gives you an estimated value of what your property costs, and it's different from the sale price. So let's say we agree that the sale price of the property was $3,000, but the house came back in valued at $2,000. The bank is going to be like, no, I'm only giving you the $2,000. And in most cases, remember, they often some banks give you 90% of that amount or 95% of that amount. So you're getting nowhere close to the $3,000 that we're asking for this house. So that's how valuations come into play.
But there are many factors that would influence the value of the particular property. For instance, I built my 2-story big able wall house, and then Sharita comes to park her wooden house just outside of my perimeter. Would a situation that affect the value of my property?
How dare you insult my wooden house, Pearson? But yes, unfortunately it would. The way valuations are conducted, valuers assess a number of things. So not just the house in itself and the caliber thereof, its conditions, characteristics, the state that it is in. If it's in a state of disrepair, obviously that impacts the price. But what is around it makes a big difference. So for example, I have a property listed that on its own is gorgeous, 3 stories, beautiful. The valuation on that property came in at about just under $900,000, but at the same time, the property outshines the neighborhood, right? So even though they have this valuation telling them it's worth $900,000, remember that was the valuation conducted on behalf of them, the seller. When a valuer comes out on behalf of the bank, remember, they're looking out for the interest of the bank. They want to make sure that that value that they assign to the property is relatively conservative. As I said, so that if the bank needs to foreclose on the property, they can quickly get it sold. So if you have all sorts of shakalakas around that diamond, it unfortunately will bring down the price overall that you may have perceived it was worth.
What about similar properties and comparing values as well? Would that impact on what is the value of my property?
Yes. One tool that valuers do use, and I always state this disclaimer, I am not a valuer. A valuer is a highly qualified individual. They actually went off and studied this. And whereas I, as a realtor, can look at the comparables, I can make assessments based on similar properties, valuers go way more into detail. They look at the square footage. They have a database that they can really dig into in depth in terms of the comparables. But yes, comparables do help. So let's say, for example, we're looking at selling a property in Christchurch, and it's 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 1 story with a pool. My job is to quickly look around and see if I can find all similar properties in similar condition to guide you as to what's out there. And I did that recently for someone. I don't just put the price on you. I would tell you, well, in your area, I can see similar properties priced between $700,000 and $765,000. The one that's $765,000 has been on the market since 2015. It's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. And then I give you a guide so it helps you know how to set the price. Now, the thing with comparables, it really must be comparable. Because think about it. If I am looking at your 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house in countryside, St. John, that has, traditional style chattel houses and so forth around it, as beautiful as that house is, guess what? When we look at a similar house on the West Coast now, chalk and cheese, that house might be $200,000 more. So comparable truly means that you have to look for all aspects that make it similar, especially location.
Now, glad you came there because that's exactly where I wanted to go. I thought, geez, oh, Sharita, but you're stealing my next question, which is location. A lot of times people think, okay, because I live here, this here has a particular value rather than over there, because over there is a little bit more diminished. That is not necessarily the case, is it? Location.
Well, sorry to break it to you, Pearson. It is the case. Location, location, location of primordial importance. So you might think that your location is fabulous because you've been living there the last 20 years and it is the best thing since sliced bread. However, from a buyer's perspective, locations are somewhat kind of ranked. There's a rank and file to locations, whether you want to, acknowledge it or not. That is the reality, and that is how valuers assess it. So as I said, you can have, a beautiful property in, let's say, Bank Hall. But yet in Bank Hall, you might have a suburban looking area. And then in other aspects of Bank Hall, you might have a more village setting type area. If it is in the suburban area of Bank Hall, it might be comparable to a similar area in Grisettes or a similar area in near Hoyt's Village. So the location, yes, matters, but also what does that location look like? Because as we know in Barbados, there's so many aspects to a neighborhood that it all depends on where in the neighborhood it is and the caliber of that, of the surrounding environs.
A lot of times too, we figure the value has to be the amount of money I put into the project. So I might have spent 300,000. Look at you clutching your pearls. Talk to me now. You know where I'm going.
Oh, Pearson, this is the part that hurts me most because I have gone. Perfect example. I've gone to a house. I can see that based on, once again, the comparables. I look at the land tax value. I get a sense of what similar properties have sold at. I can look at and see that this house is around, let's say, 500,000. But then the owner then hits me with, well, I put in marble in the bathroom last year and we upgraded all the faucets to gold. We have chrome ones in the kitchen and we've decided too that we have an infinity pool in the back. And I had to tell him, dear sir, God bless you for all that work, but sadly, what is someone willing to sacrifice for your property?
Yes.
That is what dictates the market's value. So you may think that your property is now worth $750,000. Suppose I listen to you and we price it at that. 5 years later, the house is still here because no one is willing to sacrifice that amount for what you perceive it is worth. That's where a valuer really comes into play.
And that market value is going to be dependent on the demand in that market space as well for the property. Because yes, as you said, you've invested $1 million, but I'm only willing to pay you $500,000. And if everybody else is at that stage, you keep your $1 million property because we're not paying for that. And that's the whole point as well.